Friday night prime time takes us to the heart of Wisconsin, to Road America for 45 minutes worth of the iRacing.com IMSA online sports car championship, and it starts next here on Racesport TV, streaming live on iRacing Live.
Get ready, going green. Green, green, green.
Welcome to Road America, and welcome to the 4-mile racetrack set in the heart of Wisconsin that really does define sports car racing. It's Wilvinson along with Connery Manick, and well, Connery, today we go racing for a total, not 4 hours like it was just showing you there on your screen, for a total of 45 minutes.
Yes, we will, and it's going to be the IMSA Sports Car Series at Road America, and I cannot think of a better pairing other than a horse and carriage to get us underway here on the Friday night primetime. Qualifying is underway. In fact, we're coming towards the end of qualifying. Just 1 minute left in the session. Currently, it's Gallon, currently top your prototype, Sebastian Dunkel, top of GT3s, and it's going to be Andrew de Jong, top in the GT3s.
Yeah, and let's talk very quickly then about this car, about this track even. It is 4 miles in length. It is very, very fast. Overtaking can be complicated at times, but we should still be in for a very good race.
Yeah, we should be in for an absolutely fantastic race. Your main overtaking opportunity is, of course, coming down into turn number 5, the left-hander. You can also make things happen up into turn number 6 if you're brave in that uphill braking zone. But then, of course, your other passing opportunities are at Canada Corner and, of course, turn number 1 at the end of the pit straight.
So then, let's get you a look at your qualifying starting order here for Road America. And let's then start by having a look at your fastest class. It's the Corvette prototypes there, and it's going to be Luis Paulo Gallon starting on pole position here today. And, well, does look as though he's going to be fast. In fact, a lot of these cars looking like they're going to be fast here today. Sam Fitzpatrick in second place. Dragon Nikic there in third, and Fabrice Cornelius in P number 4. We cycle it on back, and you'll see that behind we have got ourselves the rest of your prototype field. 6 drivers there in that field here this evening. And let's head it back then to the first of your GT class here, Connery. We've got Sebastian Dunkel leading the charge for Ford ahead of 3 Ferraris.
Yeah, exactly. Sebastian Dunkel doing a very, very good job indeed in what seems to be a Ferrari-stacked field here at Road America. You've got Jonathan Bartelt, Jürgen Frank, and Dustin Hickman also lining up on that second row in your GTE field. Jürgen Frank, Dustin Hickman, of course, both teammates in that SimRC team. Then you've also got Scott Brazier, Antti Tero, Barry Morrison, Kevin Zitter, and Carlos Olivier as well, rounding up into top 15 overall.
Indeed so. And that middle class is the one that I think a lot of people are very excited to see here today. 19 drivers in that class. And then we head it on back then to GT3, and you've got yourself Andrew de Jong leading that GT3 field with Martin Fitzpatrick alongside him with Darren Lobb, and then Luca Fioravanti there rounding out your top 4, Connery.
Yep, exactly, and it's great to see some of the names coming in here. Perhaps some names that I haven't really seen before, and I guess that you haven't really seen before either. I've seen Skizits before, that is for sure, but a couple of these other names looking to make a name for themselves.
Yep, cycle it on back then. P number 9, last in that class is Davi Yasmin, and you can just see these drivers now. They are lined up on your starting grid. It's a full pace lap here before 45 minutes worth of racing. Well, Connery, it's actually one of the longest pace laps that we actually have in all of iRacing, and that means that these drivers will spend about 3.5 minutes actually working behind the iRacing first pace car.
Yeah, exactly. It's a long time to just be pacing around behind the pace car there, and that's just going to suck all of the heat away from the tires, and your drivers have to weave and just brake a little bit, just trail brake, try and get some heat into those tires before the start, because it is a very, very cold track temperature here. It's mostly cloudy, and it's only 80 degrees Fahrenheit on the track, so it's going to be tricky to get some heat into those tires on the first lap, especially for these prototypes, because they can be a little bit sideways on the cold tires.
Although it's worth noting that already the prototypes have pulled out a nice big gap over your GTE field, and that's the good thing about this track, Connery. It is so long, you don't have to worry about everyone being stacked up at the start.
No, exactly, and that's just the usual thing to separate all of the classes out here on the start, so the prototypes will just follow directly behind the pace car, and then Sebastian Dunkel will also lead around the GTE field as well, trying to separate themselves out from the GT3 field or the GTD field, and of course you would call the GTE field the GTLM field if you're talking in IMSA terms. But we'll just be getting started in not too shortly here as Gallon leads the prototypes down towards what's going to be turn 5.
Yeah, indeed. So let's turn back and have a look at your GT3 field then. They are a smallish field, but actually there's still going to be some good racing here. These Mercedes do kind of work well at a track like Road America. And of course, those that's been following the things like the Blancpain GT series will know, for example, that this kind of racetrack is actually really conducive to good racing for this car.
Yeah, exactly, and you can just see how many Mercedes are also in this field. The highest placed, well, Audi will be Darren Lobb there in P number 3, so he's done a good job to get that Audi up into P number 3, but this seems to be a Mercedes-dominated track. The other Audi in the GT3 field is Gareth Misham, and he's second to last in qualifying in that field, so definitely seems to be Mercedes-dominated, but that doesn't mean we can't have a good race either.
No, it doesn't. As we'll see, our GT3 field now just work themselves on the exit of corner number 5. Meanwhile, to go back then to your prototype field, these fantastic Corvette Daytona prototypes, they are just working themselves through the carousel and actually into what is the trickiest corner, I would say, on the racetrack. It doesn't look that hard, and in fact, in some cars, it's not really hard at all, Connery. That is the kink, but in multi-class racing, it really is tough.
Yep, it's a scary corner at the best times in single car racing, and we saw that in the iRacing Grand Prix series when we went here to Road America just a couple of weeks ago. We had a couple of major incidents coming through here, and well, if you include one or two other classes on the track as well, then that risk is all the greater as they head down in towards Canada corner. Now it's going to be this little bit of a back straight here. You could say there are two back straights here at Road America, the one from turn number 3 down into turn number 5, and the one here coming down into Canada corner. And this is also an overtaking opportunity. It's also really easy to push wide during this corner.
Don't forget, ladies and gentlemen, tomorrow you've got yourself round number 8 of the iRacing World Championship Grand Prix Series. We are back home again in Indiana. Catch it, preceded by RaceBot Race Day with the RaceBot Formula 1 Sim Cup as well as the RaceBot Super Cup. Join us tomorrow for RaceBot Race Day, as the iRacing first safety car, the Porsche safety car, will just about head itself now on towards pit road, and that will put the field in the command of your pole position driver. There we are, out of that final corner and working themselves up the hill. It's not that perfect of a side-by-side start, really. Everyone's waiting, everyone's looking to get the jump done. Now they'll build up, and look at that, race leader just going to drive away at the start. Green flag in the air. 45 minutes of racing starts now. Side-by-side racing in your Daytona prototype field through turns number 1 and in towards turn number 2. But now they're into 1 if you are a fan of your GTE field, GTLM, call it what you will. You've got a little bit of side-by-side racing going on there, and it is that classic case of Ford versus Ferrari. As you see, we head on back now to your GT3 field. They just work themselves now through corner 1. A little bit of side-by-side racing. From what I've seen, most drivers are go, 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 and they've all got themselves through the first couple of corners without any real incident.
Yeah, very clean start for all 3 of your classes here. There's still a little bit of jostling going on in the GT3 field between the number 8 and the number 19s. They head side by side on the run down towards turn number 5. And let's see who comes out on top of this one. It's Fivoranti on the inside versus Ross Rizzo coming down onto the bricks and going to head side by side with the Audi in front as well. Darren Lobb has to hang it around the outside, but he'll defend the position for now.
Yeah, on board with Fivoranti then. And he's going to try it again into turn number 6. That's a good move. And let's see whether he can hold it on the outside into the hurry down section. No, he can't. He'll stay where he is.
Oh, he gets turned.
Yeah, he does. We've got 2 cars turned around. Actually, we've got Darren Lobb also turned around. Same corner, Connery. Well, it was all going so well.
Yeah, but it was all going so well up until then. As I said, a very clean start for all 3 of the classes until Fivoranti decided to just help Darren Lobb around and then point in the wrong direction into the tire barrier as well. So that's going to be pretty much the end of Darren Lobb's race in terms of finishing competitively. But in terms of the rest of your field, though, it's pretty clean.
Yeah, it is out front of the field. We saw the fact that your overall race leader, Luis Paolo Gallum, did get the jump at the start of this one, and he's maintained that advantage. It's about 0.6 of a second right now, so he is leading overall. In terms of your GTLM field, it is Sebastian Dunkel leading the way by, again, 0.6 of a second. Still a Ford leading, though, over a Ferrari.
Yep, exactly, and Sebastian Dunkel's just doing a very, very good job here, just setting the early pace in your GTE field and actually stretching that gap out a little bit. It's coming up to around about 7 or 8 tenths of a second at this stage, and actually Barrett's actually going to be under threat here from the CMRC driver of Jürgen Frank coming down the inside towards turn number 5. Can Jürgen Frank do it on the brake? He has the preferred line through here. He goes very, very deep, has to get the car stopped, and he does so, and that was a relatively easy pass for Jürgen Frank, but can Barrett's reply? He's going to have to go outside at turn number 6, which is a risky move indeed, but he's not going to get it.
He's not indeed there. There's a Ferrari 488 GTE machine then of Jürgen Frank working themselves through the hurry down section of the track as we speak right now. Live timing and scoring is available. Just visit racebot.tv/timing. Heading down into your GT3 field once again. Let's go on board with that driver of Andrew de Jong, and actually he is still keeping it going with Martin Fitzpatrick, and these 2 drivers have already pulled themselves out a 2.6 second advantage over 3rd place.
Yep, exactly. These two setting the pace in your GT3 field. And I have to wonder if Andrew de Jong is thinking of doing any more high-level racing, because then that'll be another de Jong or similar that is also very, very quick as well.
Yeah, indeed. So the gap between them remains at about 4/10 of a second. So we've not had too many passes at the start of this motor race, but we have got ourselves some consistency. We've got all drivers still circulating on track. Darren Lobb, who we saw earlier on, turning into the tyre barrier. He is still going. He's running himself last place in class, currently with a 6.5 second deficit to Michael Taylor, who runs 8th place in that class. So where's our battle's going to be? Oh, we've got a car turn around there. That is a Ferrari, number 25 machine then, of Daniel Krosky there. And he seems to have just had a moment. I'm trying to work out where this is, off the final corner.
Yep, exactly. Turn number 14 here at Road America. Just didn't really get the car turned in, and once he just tried too hard, it just tried to swap ends on him and just drifted it all the way through the corner. Well avoided by a couple of drivers behind, in fact. That was Daniel Domingo and Stefan Waldo as well, which had to deviate their lines to try and avoid that wreck. There was also the car of Sven Newman, also well avoided as well.
I will say one thing as well. We talk about this being multi-class racing. We've got side-by-side going on right now. Andy Turro versus Barry Morrison. Two drivers going side by side as they exit now turn 5 in towards turn number 6. They stay side by side, and the driver of Andy Turro looks as though he will have to stay with that position. He's got it over Barry Morrison for the moment, and now they'll come down into that very difficult turn number 8. Traffic, well, actually, if it's going to be an issue, it's only going to be an issue in the last kind of 10-15 minutes of this race here today, currently. So we talk about aggressiveness in multi-class racing. We are actually going to see quite a bit of aggressiveness, I think, here today, unless this field will separate themselves out a little bit.
Yeah, exactly. If you only have to deal with really heavy traffic just once during the race, you might as well just go aggressive right out of the blocks. As we try to see Barry Morrison try to track down that Ford again, but it seems like the Ford is getting away from the Team Bushwick Racing driver at the moment in time, but he gains a little bit of time coming through Canada corner. Anti-Terror had a horrible corner coming through there, allowing Barry Morrison to get right onto the back of that Ford GT in front of him. And it seems like a balance of performance between the Fords and the Ferraris seems relatively equal. I think is because the reason why we're seeing more Ferraris than Fords in this race is because the Ford is typically the harder car to drive.
It is indeed, as we're right on board actually with Ford. This is P number 17 in your GTLM field. It's Jose Lobo versus Buglia El Arami. And actually, Jose Lobo coming on towards pit road. Is there any damage to that car that we haven't quite seen?
I'm not too sure of that one, Will. We'll have to have a look.
I'm having a look, and I don't see any as he comes on towards pit road. So this may well be a penalty. Don't forget, we are on the 3rd lap of the motor race now, so we did get a penalty at the start. There's a good chance that he might just have come on towards pit road to get himself that penalty serve, and he should be out and away in a couple of moments' time. Indeed, 4.2 seconds penalty.
Yeah, that could definitely be the case. I had a look at his start, and he did pass a car, perhaps maybe before they got to the signal to go. So that could well be a penalty for the number 27 car. He makes his way off of pit road, and he's going to have a lot of work to do to get himself back up there now, especially with the race only being 45 minutes, unlike 6 hours like we're going to have on the weekend.
Yeah, Scott Brazier, by the way, just looped their car down at turn number 5. Caught the arm, there's a tyre barrier even, with the right-hand side of that car. It does look as though there's no real damage. He's just fallen down into 12th place in class for the time being. And don't forget that you have got yourself the 6 hours of the Glen here on RaceSpot TV this weekend. So don't forget, we've got a fantastic slate worth of racing for you. The iRacing World Championship Grand Prix Series, the 6 hours of Glen, and the Indy Elite Series to boot as well here on RaceSpot TV over the course of this weekend. Let's head ourselves actually to GT3 for a moment. Worth noting that your top two have not really pulled out any more over 3rd place. That is Luca Fioravanti right now, but Ross Rizzo is still just about room touching distance, 1.2 seconds back, even though he did lose 0.4 of a second that last time around this track.
Yeah, I was about to mention that he lost 0.4 of a second, and hopefully that's just a temporary blip in terms of Ross Rizzo's lap times as we see what he does next time in the next couple of corners. But yeah, the front two, again, having pulled out that early gap at the start of this race, very, very fast out of the blocks for both Zach and Andrew de Jong. They're actually running slower lap times, at least de Jong is, to Luca Fivorante in P number 3, so he's actually catching them.
Indeed, so as we go back up now to your prototype field, Fabrice Cornelius versus Dragan Nikic then in your prototype field. They're separated by 0.4 of a second, as they have got some early traffic going on actually. So all I was saying about, you only have to pass traffic once or twice. There are one or two drivers who haven't passed and we've got a car on the wall.
Yep, exactly, and that's the very, very usual instant, shall we say, a lap traffic going side by side through the kink. There was no contact between Michael Taylor, which is the GT3 car that went around and into the wall, and Fabrice Cornelius, but it just like that offline coming into the kink is just upsetting the car, and it's hard into the left-hand wall as he tried to correct the slide that he was about to enter. Didn't collect any other machines though. Yep,
there's a replay, and you can just see what happened was he'd already attempted to turn that car into the corner, and by the point that he actually realised there's another car coming down the inside of him, he tried adjusting, and at that point immediately it was too late, and he had already slid that car around through the corner on the outside in that dirty line, and well, he did the right thing. He, you know, just kept the car where it was on track, got himself out of the car, but we have got ourselves a little bit of close racing still going on in your prototype field. Here is Michael Ivdoka right now versus Marco Aracdicono. This is for P number 5 on track right now, and Aracdicono looking as though he's got that 5th place sorted out for the moment.
Yeah, Arce Diacono is just looking relatively confident here, as actually he has I'm just looking at his car, he has a little bit of a very, very slight damage to the rear end of that car, so that won't be affecting him much. Quite thankfully, his lap times seem relatively okay, but Michael Ivdoka is actually still catching him. That time by was about a second that he caught, which gave him that opportunity coming down into turn number 5, but he's just going to have to wait for now for another opportunity.
Yeah, Arce Diacono actually there. Arce Diacono actually looking as though through the carousel he's got himself the advantage. This is where it all close back in, but for Ivdoka, this is where the dirty air really does kick in. When you've got a car within that 0.6 of a second window, you see he's able to maintain the gap, but normally this is where the draft would normally kick in. It's not going to actually happen, and Arce Diacono there is actually just going to hold on for the time being. Here are your top 3 then in each of your classes so far. Starting, of course, with your prototype field, it is Gallon leading the way. He's got himself now a 1.7 second advantage over Sam Fitzpatrick. Fabrice Cornelius a further 0.7 of a second back. Then into your GT field, we've got ourselves Sebastian Dunkel in GTLM leading the way by 3.2 seconds over Jürgen Frank. And the gap between Jürgen Frank and Jonathan Bro, actually, we haven't really talked about this, is exactly half a second as they come through the final corner. 2 Ferraris battling it out. Then in GT3, you've got yourself Marcin Fitzpatrick leading the way by 1.4 seconds now over Andrew de Jong. De Jong, in fact, is being closed out by Luca Fioravanti right now. Gap between those 2 drivers is about 2 seconds on track, but let's stick it with this battle for 2nd place in GTLM going on right now, Connery. Jürgen Frank, last time by, was just 0.1 of a second faster than Jonathan Brault, but these 2 Ferraris looking as though they are very evenly matched.
Yeah, incredibly so, but the overall trend is that Jonathan Brott has been catching a little bit, maybe not last time by over the past couple of laps. He has as they head their way down into turn number 5, and this could be one that could be very, very exciting indeed, especially heading in towards the pit stop phase, which will be around lap 13, 14, 15 is when we expect most of your drivers to come in, and that is regardless of class. So there's a huge overlap between the pit stop windows here for all 3 classes, so it'll be a very, very busy pit road when it comes to the pit stop phase.
And I always say the ultimate question is coming onto or coming off of pit road harder here? Because coming on towards pit road is one of these difficult circumstances where you have got a bump just at the point that you kind of hit that commit cone. But also on the way coming out of pit road, you're on the ultra right-hand side of the racetrack, and you have to take a very tight line into that first corner.
Yeah, exactly. And coming onto pit road, because it is pretty much an uphill braking zone, as you actually see the number 10 machine go a little bit wide at the kink. You don't really want to be doing that all too much. But coming back towards pit road, it's an uphill braking zone, so you can be much, much harder on the brakes coming into that, carry much more speed coming through those yellow cones, and you can actually gain time that way over your competitors in the pit stop phase. But we'll have to see what your drivers do when it comes to that in about what is going to be 5 or 6 laps time.
Yeah, you know what the worst thing is if you're a prototype driver? It's going to be seeing the fact that you know you've got to come on towards pit road, and there's a GT3 car doing exactly the same thing, they're about 1.5 seconds ahead of you. It is everyone's worst nightmare, but that is just the way it is sometimes with endurance racing. As we're back now to the battle for P2, P3 in your prototype class, it is Fabrice Cornelius versus Sam Fitzpatrick. As we run on board of Cornelius running, actually, and well, last time by, Cornelius was actually faster by about a tenth and a half.
Yep, exactly, but he's not really in a position to attack right now. Still a little bit too far back to make any opportunity of it, coming down into one of the heavy braking zones of turn 1 or turn number 5. So yes, just chip away at that gap just little by little to put himself in a place where he can actually challenge for what is going to be that second step on the podium as it is right now. Meanwhile, Gallon is actually not going that much faster than these two guys in P2 and 3 as well. So all of the top 3 in your prototype field relatively evenly matched, but Gallon had the early advantage.
Yeah, and it's worth noting that actually Gallon did gain 7 tenths of a second between lap 5 and lap number 6 over Fitzpatrick, but lost half a tenth of a second on lap number 7. So the Fitzy Motorsport car there on Sam Fitzpatrick is coming up behind a little bit of traffic right now as they work themselves up the hill. Past the start finish line, and let's have a look. We'll get confirmation of the lap times for lap number 7 in just 1 second's time. And look at that, Fitzpatrick just gained another half a second there. Part of that, I think, was Gallon catching that lap traffic through the final corner. But the gap now, we've got 3 drivers in prototype separated by 1.6 seconds. But there's also battles going on in GTLM. You've got battles going on, a three-way battle right now. Barry Morrison, Antti Turo, and Kevin Zita. And also, we've got ourselves a car turned around. That is another Ferrari here, and it's Paul Ancliffe. And well, I'll tell you one thing, Ferrari's going to have a nice big repair bill after this one. As Paul Ancliffe, let's have a replay of him. Kink doesn't do it out of kink, he does it down into Canada corner.
Yeah, exactly, and it looks like Scott Brazier just well, there's a little bit of miscommunication under braking right there. Scott Brazier going much deeper on the brakes, just carrying a lot more speed through the entry phase, and has to almost swerve to avoid the number 23 Paul Ancliffe there. Of course, Scott Brazier had an earlier spin in this race that put him down the field somewhat, so he was trying to catch all the way back through the field as quickly as he can, and just a little bit of a miscommunication under the brakes there.
You know what? I've seen that so many times, and of course, I've called a number of IndyCar races here, and that is one of the classic things. That actually Scott Brazier is onto pit road to get some repairs to that race car. Antti Turo, Barry Morrison, that one is going on as well. Barry Morrison had the advantage early on, but if you're Antti Turo, one will ask, and I know it's only a 45-minute motor race here today, Connery, do you just try and conserve the tyres and do the whole good old-fashioned Gregor Hutu one-lap blitz, then overtake during the pit stop sequence?
I don't really think tyres will be all that important over the course of this race anyway, because it's only 45 minutes long. Usually these cars can do at least one stint, which is about an hour and 5 minutes long. At least 2 as well, as we've seen recently. And we'll definitely be seeing that in the 6 hours of the Glen on Sunday. But I don't think the tyre saving will be a huge factor here. So I think Taro just has to go out 110%, because this is basically a sprint race in endurance terms.
But at the same time, you know, we talk about these tyres degrading. If you actually just keep the temps down, you can get one good lap on if you drive it like you drive in a qualifying lap. And I think that's the approach that Taro could well take. He doesn't seem to really be able to get with him that dirty end. Of course, you've got to think again about the differences between these Fords, as Antti Taro is in, and a Ferrari, which Barry Morrison is in.
Yep, exactly. That Ford is much more confident, much more suited to the high downforce sections, the high speed and the medium to high speed corners because of the amount of downforce on that Ford GT. I've heard some drivers say it feels like a prototype car coming through those corners sometimes with such a high downforce, but it struggles in the slow speed corners, and that's where the advantage switches to the Ferrari that Barry Morrison is driving. And this track seems to have a relatively equal mix of fast and slow speed corners as well, which is why the balance of performance here is so close.
We've also got ourselves a battle going on for P number 2 with Luca Fioravanti versus Andrew de Jong. P number 2, P number 3 is what separates these drivers. And actually, I'm having a look at the times. I believe that Luca's moved himself up into second place based on the last lap times.
Yep, exactly. That definitely looks to be the case. As having a little bit of a look down through the field as well. There's also a battle going on between Rudolf Nagel and Evan Marion as well. This is for just in the middle of your GTLM field. Again, it's another Ferrari and a Ford battling out. So the battle of the manufacturers absolutely rampant through the GTLM field.
But what I seem to notice is the fact that Ford can get behind a Ferrari but can't overtake. And part of the reason for that is, remember you just saying, you know, medium to high speed corners favours the Ford. Well, the issue is you're in a medium speed corner now, but then you come into a high speed corner in a moment, which is the kink. But both cars have to lift off the noisy pedal, and then it's not actually that much of a run down in towards Canada corner. Look here, Marion drops back by 10.5 a second, and even though the Ferrari goes wide down at the kink, the Ferrari's gaining time on the run down into Canada corner, and by the time they get there, you know, it's status quo as it is, even though Nagel locks up big time there in towards Canada.
Yep, exactly, and that's something we usually see coming down into Canada corner as Marion almost runs wide coming through Bill Mitchell Bend, but is just going to be absolutely fine otherwise. As we had a prototype driver hit pit road, actually. That was the number 15 of Michael Edvokta, and that's a little bit early for the prototypes to be pitting. Usually they pit around about lap 14 in these IMSA races at Road America, so and pitting on lap 11, lap 10, lap 11 is very, very early for Michael Edvokta, and let's see if he can get to the end on that field time.
But he was in a battle with Marco Arakono. I will get it right one day. That number 16 machine. So maybe Evoca is trying to say, I'll do the early strategy and let's see where I can come out against Arakono later on in the motor race. So keep an eye. 11.9 seconds off, 43.3 seconds on the lane. That's what we expect from these drivers here this afternoon. But the big issue actually for Evoca is the fact he's come out in traffic, and this is not a blue flag situation. This is a situation that actually, in terms of the motor race, this is like a Porsche LMP1 car back at the 24 Hours of Le Mans having to go up against the LMP2 cars. This is actually for overall race position. And if Doka doesn't seem really to have a car underneath him all of a sudden.
Yep, exactly, and that's definitely not what he wants to come out in the middle of the GTLM field pretty much on the same lap as them as well, so they don't really have, well, they don't really have to let him by, but of course it is courteous to do so as there's a GTD car that they're passing here. Rennie Penquit coming down into Canada corner and has to force Sebastian Dunkel, your current GTLM race leader, wide, and that means Jürgen Frank is going to be inheriting the race lead here as he tries to get past the GTD car as well.
Yeah, that's big. That's really big. On board Sebastian Dunkel as they come in towards Canada corner, and you just notice that Sebastian Dunkel forced out wide, locks the brakes up, goes into the gravel track, goes over a bump. There's some underside damage maybe to that car, loses one position, loses a little bit more as well as he then worked himself into Bill Mitchell Bend. Arakono, by the way, did come in towards pit road, and that was a very smart move by him actually, because what he did is he reacted to Evdoka, and because Evdoka was stuck behind that GT traffic for one lap, Arakono basically now has secured his position for the time being.
Yeah, Marco Assediacono is just, that was a very, very good decision for him. Maybe he knew about the traffic that Evokta was hitting by pitting that early and decided to pit one lap later in response to just avoid that traffic. So that means he is out well ahead of Michael Evokta right now. And meanwhile, your prototype race leader did come in to have his service as well. The one and only scheduled stop here in this race, Luis Gallon. He's currently down and out. Well, it's not down and out. He's out on there on the track with fuel towards the end now in that P number 4, so still looking for those top 3 drivers in your prototype field to come in. Meanwhile, you're having well, we have to wait for the GT3 and the GTE cars to come in as well.
Yeah, and it's a 10.6 second stop there for the Daytona prototype driver of Louis Paolo Gallon. 42.2 seconds on the lane. I just want to compare that, by the way. That's faster than anyone else in that prototype field so far this evening. As we've got Dragon Nikic now on pit road. Only 3 of our prototype drivers have left to pit here today. It's a fantastic view of drivers just exiting the carousel here. As just having a look down through your field, and we've got a couple of pitters actually in your GT3 field. Martin Fitzpatrick coming in to make a pit stop, 17.1 seconds on the gun. He's out and away. Andrew de Jong, 15 seconds out and away. Closed the gap a little bit actually to Fitzpatrick by 1.9 seconds on that pit road entry.
Yep, exactly, and he'll be off and away, and gets out behind the prototype there of Arcidio Kono, and he has a prototype behind him of Michael Evokter as well. So in the prototype sandwich right there, a couple of the other drivers were down on pit road. Darren Lobb also down on that pit road, 1 lap down. You have to think he's getting damage repaired as well after an earlier incident. He's off and away, and as we see, no one else coming down onto pit road currently, but the pit window is well and truly open here, Will.
It is, but we've not really had any drivers from your GTLM field come on towards pit road. Marion versus Nagel actually very close in towards 1 they come. As we've actually now got ourselves D'Amigo, just like I say, no one's come in GTLM. We've got people coming in GTLM. We've got 2 drivers in. D'Amigo and Al Amri are on pit road as we speak, but I want to turn my attention back for the moment to the driver of M. Marriott versus Nagel, P number 9. And this is the Ford versus Ferrari battle again. Having a look at the top speed there with the draft, they're only getting 2 miles an hour into turn number 5. That's not enough to execute a pass with the slipstream.
No, it isn't at all coming down into turn number 5, so he has to look at making opportunities somewhere else on circuit, but you have to think, where else on circuit does he make the move? Because all of the overtaking opportunities are at the end of relatively decently long straights, so it's an interesting predicament that Evan Marin is in right now. Meanwhile, we have another prototype coming down on towards the lane there, Sam Fitzpatrick, the number 14 machine, deciding to take his service. We still have to wait for Cornelius and Gabriel Roos to come down on towards the lane for your prototype field, and that will be all of your prototypes having had their service.
Yeah, we've got Davi Yasmin on pit road as well in your GT3 field. Sam Fitzpatrick is out and away in 11.2 seconds. Let's then turn our attention back to Gareth Measham in the Audi R8 LMS car, out and away in 13.9 seconds. And Davi Yasmin gonna come into his box, do something, and I'm not quite sure what he's doing. Okay.
I'm not sure about that one. He's still in the car, he looks like, so he's not retiring the car. But that was it's very interesting. He's still down there on the lane, 16 seconds, 17 seconds as it is right now. And let's see if he actually makes his way off of pit road. That'll be interesting to see as Antitero and Barry Morrison head their way down onto the lane. This is another Ferrari versus Ford battle that we were watching as well. Both get their cars stopped in the box. I think Barry Morrison had to reverse a little bit there. Maybe my eyes were deceiving me, as we'll see when they come off of the lane here. They're up to 10 seconds on their stops right as well, and they're off and away. Here comes Barry Morrison, actually jumps the Ford in the pit stop there. They're going to be very, very close coming off the lane.
They are going to be indeed, and there's a look out of pit road. Barry Morrison, 11.7 seconds there over Antiterra, and that's the way you sometimes have to make a move happen on pit road. Oh, drama!
Wow, that was the car of Krasowski there, coming down into turn number 1. One of the Ferraris that was down in your field just loses control on the exit of the corner, and Barry Morrison has to check up. Does well to avoid the number 25 car spinning ahead of him, but Antitaro just didn't see and just went straight into the back of the Bushwing Ferrari ahead of him. Let's
have a look. Replay is up, and well, they were so close coming out of pit road. I've got a feeling that those 2 drivers were just thinking about each other. They come out of pit road okay. And let's just freeze frame here as they come through turn number 1 here. And then that Ferrari number 25 machine just loops it in front of both of them. And, well, Barry Morrison was fine, but Antiterro ended up rear-ending Barry Morrison. And that, my friend, is what happens in high-pressure situations.
Yep, exactly, and it looks like it's there's very heavy damage there to the Ferrari Barry Morrison. The diffuser is all crumpled up, so you'd be experiencing a chronic loss of downforce there as he runs wide. You can just see that coming through the carousel. Has to run wide out of it, and maybe we'll see it coming through the kink as well. Actually, he keeps it on track very well there, and there's also some front end damage to Antitero as well. So let's see who comes out on top of these damaged cars here. There's a very busy pit road. There's Jürgen, Frank, Braut, Hickman, Dunkel, Zitter, Alex Olivier, Rudolf Nagel, Evan Marion, all down on the lane.
Yep, let's have a look then. Let's see if we can get you the race out of pit road graphics. See who moves up, see who moves down. Jürgen Frank then going to be the first one of these drivers to come out of pit road, and he will come out still with the race lead then in terms of your class, and everyone else just falling out behind him is going to be Jonathan Brault, Dustin Hickman, Sebastian Dunkel coming out as they are. But what about Kevin Zita coming out of pit road? And Barry Morrison isn't quite able. You know what, if Barry Morrison had actually not have had that contact, he would have been passed.
Yeah, I think we can say that for definite. So that instant has put Barry Morrison behind on the track, and also behind in terms of time with the amount of damage to the rear diffuser of that Ferrari. It's not going to be feeling very good at all as Kevin Zitter managed to jump to him in the pit stops there. There's a couple of other drivers still down on the lane. Paul Ancliffe, Sven Newman are also getting their service coming off of pit road as well.
Live time and scoring is still available. Visit racebot.tv/timing for that one. In a moment's time, we'll just run you through your field after the field resets itself just a little bit. Jose Lobo back on pit road for the second time here today. We kind of expected that one to happen. It's just having a look down. The gaps have spread out a little bit. Morrison and Zita, though. I mean, Morrison, we know, is going to be struggling, but he's trying to battle Kevin Zita right now for P number 5, and actually gets a very good run out of turn number 8.
There's someone reversing down pit lane. The number 25, Daniel Krzyzewski, involved in that incident we saw coming down into turn 1. Looks like he either missed his box by a country mile, or he's just playing some shenanigans on the end of pit road there, Will.
Well, here he is. What is he doing?
I don't know.
This is the whole thing.
That's
if you're going to be on Racebot TV primetime, don't do something. Oh, he hits the guardrail to start with. I mean,
I'm just trying to rewind it back far enough to be able to tell what sparked all of this off. Is actually he had a little bit of an instant, actually just locks up the brakes coming down middle of the straight. Maybe a little bit of technical issues there that you could blame, but to reverse back into pit road from the pit road exit is not really sporting behavior.
No, this is, I mean, again, you're on Racebot TV primetime, son. You know, the cameras are watching you. You know those times when a race just falls apart? You've had one incident, you let someone go past. I mean, at this point, I shan't.
Why not take the toe?
Yeah, I'm going to say.
That's what you have to be asking.
Moving on, shall we?
Yes.
I think that's the safe thing to do right now. On board with Dustin Hickman. He's currently 6/10 of a second back from Jonathan Brault. Let's then run yourself through some of the drivers in each of your classes. We're going to start off actually by having a look at your prototype field. You see 7 drivers in there. It's currently led by Louis Paolo Gallon. Even when he jumped the start here, actually, Connery, he has built up an advantage here today now of 3.5 seconds. As Fabrice Cornelius is back, it's actually no, on pit road for the first time. I take that back.
Yep, exactly. Fabrice Cornelius going very far in the race. Actually, this is his second stop. He's counted as having pitted twice on my timing screens there, so perhaps maybe not enough fuel to the end for Fabrice Cornelius. Is actually he last stopped like 2 laps ago, so he must have not either had a penalty coming off of pit road, or he didn't put enough fuel in the first place.
So there's your top 7, well, your 7 drivers in your prototype field. Now back over to GTLM, and let's have a look. Jürgen Frank leads away by 2.6 seconds over Jonathan Brault. Dustin Hickman 3rd, Sebastian Dunkel 4th, Barry Morrison rounds out your top 5. The most action we've seen here today is in this division, and actually we are likely to see more action in this division between P2, P3 towards the end of this motor race. Reason for that one being, we've got ourselves 2 Ferraris, Brault versus Hickman, down to the last 12 minutes.
Yep, exactly. And Sebastian Dunkel could also get himself involved in this battle as well. Of course, Dunkel was the pole position car in this GTLM field, and also led the vast part of the early part of this race before being involved in an instant with the prototype cars just coming through as lap traffic, and had to be forced wide in Canada corner. So he's looking to make his way back up through into the podium positions here. He's only catching by about half a tenth of a second, at least last time, by up to Dustin Hickman. But if Hickman and Brault start fighting, then that gap can close in a blink of an eye.
Well, let's go back and have a look at GT3. Martin St. Patrick leads by 1.8 seconds over Ross Rizzo. Then Andrew de Jong in third, Gareth Mezam in fourth, and Rene Penquick then running out the top five. For all intents and purposes, it does look as though GT3 is kind of settled now.
Yeah, exactly. It looks like all those battles in the GTD field have all really fizzled out right now, and we'll keep you posted if that changes by the end of this race. But well, the GTLM field is definitely the one we have to be keeping an eye on in the closing stages of this race. My timing screens is telling me around about 5.5 laps to go for your prototype leader, 11 minutes to go on the time.
So here's the battles we've got going on. In prototype, we've got ourselves one battle going on. This is between Evdoka, who has lost time to Arsenio Colo, and is now trying to keep ahead of Gabriel Roos. And having a look at the timing between these two drivers and the lap graphics, and well, last time by, Gabriel Roos gained 1 second over Michael Evdoka.
Yeah, that's an absolutely huge margin to gain by, as it doesn't look like if Doka was actually involved in any sort of traffic situation. So there must have been a mistake somewhere out there on circuit that allowed Gabriel Roos to gain all of that time. And well, they're coming through the carousel right now, and it looks like that gap is staying relatively the same. So it looks like if Doka has just had a little bit of a blip on the last lap. That meant he was 1 second down compared to his competitors, as actually a couple of prototypes are now dealing with more GTLM traffic, as Dragan Nikic here in the number 20 machine dealing with a whole bunch of GTLM cars in front of him.
I did say last 10 minutes and last 15 minutes you're going to have to do it once. That is the case. Dustin Hickman, Jonathan Brault right now, P number 2 in class. And again, the draft, I mean, I feel like I'm sounding like a Jedi right now. The draft is weak in this one because Dustin Hickman gained absolutely nothing over Jonathan Brault on the run down into turn number 5.
Yeah, absolutely nothing, and you could suggest that maybe it's a slight bit of a downforce difference between the two setups on the two Ferraris here, but even with the draft, you expect to get a little bit more coming down the straights, and it just seems like it's just not working here for Dustin Hickman.
Behind, we've got ourselves Sven Newman, versatile driver of Abdulkir Al-Amri, and I would give credit to Al-Amri actually. He has gained some positions in this motor race, but now he's under pressure from Sven Newman. 2 Ferraris again going at it into turn 5.
Yeah, exactly. And Sven Newman actually gained around about 2 or 3 tenths of a second that last time by as they head their way up into turn number 6. So Abdul has to really get his defensive head on to defend that P number 18 overall, which just happens to be where he started. So a relatively okay race for the number 33.
Yeah. So we've got to say no real battles going on. Actually, no, I take that back. And I'm going to have to pull up the lap times here. But look at this, we've got a driver on a mission. Ross Rizzo has gained 1.6 seconds over Martin Fitzpatrick in the last 3 laps of this motor race. Ross Rizzo is charging right now.
Yep, he is absolutely charging, and he can make a challenge at the end of this race, maybe for that GTD lead. We'll just have to wait and see, but yeah, he's absolutely hammering those lap times out right now, getting every single apex, every single corner entry absolutely perfect, and he's just catching, even visually, up to your GTD race leader in Martin Surzipczak right now, and well, maybe he can make an opportunity in the next couple of laps if this trend continues.
Let's actually go on board with Ross Rizzo for half a lap here. This is Racesport TV, fan immersion. it comes to the end of this motor race, Connery, and we talk about why Ross Rizzo didn't win this motor race, I think we've got our example there. We saw it on board. The kink on that lap cost him so much time. He got pushed wide a little bit there as the GTE Ferrari just went past him. The gap went up from 0.7 seconds to 1.5.
Yeah, exactly, and that is why going too wide through the kink is especially risky for both cars involved. And well, it was actually the case that Ross Rizzo got pushed so wide that he got onto the grass and lost even more time as a result, not able to get the power down. So that's a lot of lost time for Ross Rizzo, and as you mentioned, it could have just lost him this race because he was going so well up until then. And if he's right there at the end of this race, that was definitely the situation where he lost it.
Abdulkader Al-Amri has just moved himself past Daniel Garcia. Domingo, here is a look at this one again from our onboard coverage, actually, of Abdulkader Al-Amri for the moment. And actually, then what I want to show you is our aerial coverage, because what you can see there, driver number 33 machine on the left-hand side. Then you see driver overshooting. That is Domingo. That allowed Al-Amri to just work himself past and go behind the trees. But, well, Canada corner is always a corner. If you just mess it up a tiny bit, the rewards never outweigh the consequences. And we just saw that there. Al-Amri easily got himself past there into the top 10 in class.
Yep, exactly, and I mentioned it at the start of this broadcast that it's very relatively common for cars to just push wide there, and perhaps the reason why the braking is so tricky coming down into Canada corner is there's a little bit of a kink in the straight, the left-hand kink just before the braking zone. So just as you finish the little turn, you're instantly on the brakes in these GTLM cars, and that can be very tricky, especially if you do it a little bit too early. The car is not going straight under brakes, under the braking zone, and it's just gonna cause a little bit of an upset car syndrome.
In terms of your movers and shakers in this motor race, starting first of all with your prototype field, the driver of Marco Arcidi Dicono then has moved himself up 3 places. If Go-Kart is up 1, biggest loser is Cornelius down 3 places. We've documented that one already for you here today. Then, in terms of your GTLM field, Jürgen Frank up 2 places, Sebastian Bunkel down 3. The big thing about that one is, of course, that Canada corner moment for Sebastian Dunkel. Canada corner has caught out a number of drivers here today, and Sebastian Dunkel arguably is the worst of the losers down at Canada. And then over into your GT3 field, call it what you will, and you can see that, well, actually Gareth Messham's up 4 places, Ross Rizzo up 3 places, and both race drivers have had good scraps. But we do think that Rizzo, at this stage of the motor race, is maybe now just too far back to really make a charge, Connery.
Yeah, I definitely think that's the case as well. As you mentioned, he basically lost his opportunity at Canada corner while at the kink, while that little bit of higher class car just came through on him, the GTE car, and as a result, he's not in contention for this race win anymore. Meanwhile, there's still a battle brewing for P number 3 again between Dustin Hickman and Sebastian Dunkel. It's yet another Ferrari versus Ford GT, and Sebastian Dunkel again having to recover after an early race instant at Canada corner that you had mentioned. Will, he's looking to get back onto that podium.
He is indeed, and he's not really going to get an opportunity. That's the thing. This Ford, it favours this section of the racetrack, but it will take a dive bomb of all dive bombs to make it work down into Canada corner. In fact, he would never have been able to make that one work. And the exit of Canada corner, now down into Bill Mitchell Bend, penultimate corner on the racetrack, and turn number 14, last curve. And, well, the only thing that could well be a difference maker here is the fact that Hickman isn't that too far behind Jonathan Brout right now, as if these 3 come together, I think Dunkel might have the opportunity to sneak himself onto the podium. Having a look at the lap times, of course, and looking at where we are on track, we will see the white flag for Gallon the next time he comes past the start-finish line, because a lap time around here takes 1 minute 55, and there's going to be 1 minute 50 on the play clock as the driver of Gallon moves himself past the start-finish line. White flag is out here, Connery.
Yeah, exactly. And just before that lap, he actually had a very, very slow lap, did Gallo, and he actually did a 158.0. So perhaps they're deliberately slowing the race pace down to be able to finish this race just a little bit early. And, well, if he comes in for an interview at the end of this race, maybe we can ask him about that. But this is the battle that we're going to be watching for P number 3 between Hickman and Sebastian Dunkel. It's going to have to be gloves off now for Dunkel.
Yeah, as they now work themselves. Well, I mean, they've got about a lap and a half to go. So we go on board then with the driver of Dustin Hickman and just have a quick look from the rear of that car. And it's worth noting, of course, that as they come down into the carousel, again, same situation. Dunkel is 4 tenths of a second back, but it's going to be highly unlikely that Dunkel's going to be able to do anything into Canada corner unless Dustin Hickman makes a mistake, and that's all that Dunkel can do. Pressure Dustin Hickman into a mistake, but Hickman is not a driver who is used to making mistakes. Actually, Dunkel does get a good run through the kink as they come down into Canada corner. Is Dunkel going to be close enough to make the move? The answer is no. So one more chance then for Sebastian Dunkel into the final lap. But Connery, we have to turn our attention back to Gallon because now he is down into the kink on the final time.
Yeah, he is, and he's basically led from the front, pole position, and looking to be the likely race winner here is Luis Gallon in that number 11 machine. Absolutely flawless race for him, just a couple of more corners to go, and he'll be taking the checkered flag for your prototype field through Bill Mitchell Bend, coming up to turn number 14, and it's looking to be Luis Gallon taking the checkered flag.
Out of the final corner for Luis Paolo Gallon then. He led from the green flag here today to the checkered flag. Luis Paolo Gallon leads and wins here at Road America. Sam Fitzpatrick comes home in second place, and it will be Dragan Nikic there coming home in third place in your prototype field. But we've still got the issue over in your GTLM field. Jürgen Frank versus Jonathan Brout versus Dustin Hickman. We know that Jürgen should win this one on paper, but Jonathan Brout versus Hickman is something we need to think about. We've also got ourselves Martin Fitzpatrick versus the driver of Ross Rizzo. It does look as though that Rizzo is not going to be able to challenge for that race lead. Also worth noting, actually, your GT3 field will finish before your GTLM field, but we're going to go on board with Sebastian Dunkel right now because the gap is 3.5 tenths of a second as they come through the Speedfield Bridge, through the carousel, and a little dab on the brakes actually there for Dustin Hickman through the centre of the corner. That's just going to upset that car a little bit and allow Dunkel to be within a quarter of a second as they come down into the kink. There is also, I believe, the driver of Brout 1 second ahead of him. Dunkel, this is his opportunity right now. Last lap pass potentially in the making for him. Can he get onto the podium? No, not into Canada corner. So it will be a last corner gasp if it's going to be anything for Sebastian Dunkel. To just very quickly let you know, Fitzpatrick is going to take your victory in GT3. There he is, heading himself up the hill to claim victory from Ross Rizzo by 1.9 seconds. But can Dunkel do anything in the final corner? The answer is going to be no. Jürgen Frank wins in your GTLM field. Jonathan Brout in second place, Dustin Hickman in third, and Sebastian Dunkel rounds out your top four, Connery.
Yep, exactly, and Sebastian Dunkel will have to settle for that P number 4, even though he was leading this race early on. Again, involved in an instant at Canada corner that put him down through the field, and he wasn't really able to make his way back up into the podium positions. Has to settle for that P number 4, and he has to settle for struggling behind a Ferrari that he couldn't really pass, even though you could say on overall time he was faster, and it was something that we saw throughout the field today, that the Ford GTs just couldn't make any passing opportunities on the Ferraris.
Well, there is your race winner in terms of your overall field here today. That is Luis Paolo Gallon, and there is your top 3. Left-hand side of your screen right now. Gallon from Fitzpatrick, from Nikic, Frank from Brout and Hickman in GTLM, and then in GT3, it's Fitzpatrick from Rizzo from De Jong. There's your race winner coming on towards pit road, heading towards victory lane. Let's get you a look then at your final race results. Gallon leads then at the end of it by, not by much actually, he leads it by 1.2 seconds over Sam Fitzpatrick. Then we've got ourselves in third place, Dragon Nikic there in your prototype field. He was 14 seconds behind your overall leader at the end. Marco Alcidiacono in fourth place, Michael Evdoka in fifth, Gabriel Rose in sixth, and then Fabrice Cornelius rounding out the main part of your prototype field in P number 7. All of your prototypes finished race with 1 minute of your race leader. And then we head back and you see that it's Ferrari 123 in GTLM. Jürgen Frank wins from Jonathan Barrett, and Dustin Hickman rounds out your top 3. We cycle on back, you'll notice that your first forward is in fourth place in your GTLM field. That was the driver that started in pole position. Number 1 machine, Sebastian Dunkel. Barry Morrison in the 5th place. Then you've got the rest of your GTLM field up on your screen as we speak. And then finally you see that it is Martin Fitzpatrick there in the number 5 machine who claims victory for the GT3 field. It's Merc 1, 2 and 3, Audi 4th and 5th. They don't get onto the podium here today. Ros Rizzo in 2nd in GT3, Andrew de Jong in 3rd place, Gav Messam in 4th, and Darren Lobb rounds out your top 5. And then you can see your retirees. You've got out of the race 2 Ferraris and 2 Mercedes. No prototypes here today and no forwards. Michael Evdoka sets the fast lap of the day, lap number 2 of this motor race, 155.176. We will step aside for a few moments here on Racespot TV. We'll be back with more, some driver interviews and a preview of this weekend's action after these messages. You're watching Racespot TV on iRacing Live.
Introducing a whole new form of racing to the best online racing simulation in the world. This is Dirt Racing on iRacing.com. Race online at some of America's most legendary dirt tracks, including Eldora and Williams Grove. iRacing is the premier online racing game featuring NASCAR, IndyCar, sports cars, and now World of Outlaws, the leading sanctioning body for dirt racing. iRacing is easy to use and features a centralized ranking system to make sure you have the best experience at any skill level. With a massive inventory of high-precision laser scan tracks and cars with an unmatched dedication to quality and detail, iRacing gives you the most authentic online racing experience available. Thanks to iRacing's dynamic track system, developed specifically for dirt racing, tracks change over the course of a race, just like your favorite dirt track on a Friday or Saturday night. From a slick racing groove all the way up to the cushion, iRacing's dirt tracks deliver non-stop racing action. Partnered with the World of Outlaws, iRacing is your source for the most authentic dirt racing experience available, featuring 4 brand new tracks and 11 new cars, including street stocks, legends cars, late models, NASCAR trucks, winged and non-winged sprint cars, with much more on the way. Join the Dirt Revolution on iRacing.com and start slinging mud today.
iRacing, you wanted the best, you got them for abreast. Often imitated, never duplicated. The greatest show on dirt, the World of Outlaws.
Hey guys, Christopher Bell here. As you guys know, iRacing is coming out with dirt, and it's been a long time coming. So I'm here today to kind of show you around the sprint cars and hopefully give you some insight for whenever you first drive it. So here we are at Williams Grove, gonna go out and make a couple laps in the 410 wing sprint car. I'm on default setup with a gear change to a 522. As we roll out of the pits, you guys might notice that the car wants to pull left and you have to hold the steering wheel right to go straight. That's normal for a sprint car because you have so much stagger, it's always trying to turn the car left. Once you get up to speed, that goes away. Going down the straightaways, Williams Grove has really long straightaways and really tight corners. The big wings on the sprint cars, it always wants to pull you left into the corner, so it doesn't take much steering wheel input to get the car into the corner. A big key for the wing sprint cars is that they always like to go straight. They don't like to be too sideways, so the less steering wheel input you can have and the straighter you can keep the car, the faster you'll go. As the track slickens off, you'll be able to play with the setup to get the car driving even straighter yet. And that's a couple laps around Williams Grove. So here we are at Eldora Speedway. I'm on baseline setup with a gear change to a 511. As we roll out at Eldora Speedway, one thing that you'll notice is that the corners are really sweeping and it's almost a circular shape. The big thing about Eldora is just keeping that steering wheel straight. The straighter you keep the wheel and the less steering input that you give the car, the faster you'll go. The fast line around Eldora will be right around the inside wall in the corners and then with a big arc towards the outside walls down the straightaways. Then once the track slicks off, you'll be able to follow the groove up towards the outside wall, where the famous Eldora High Line comes into play. So now we're at Volusia Speedway Park with the 410 wing sprint car. I'm on baseline setup with a 511 gear, the same as what we ran at Eldora. Whenever you roll out on the racetrack, you'll notice that Volusia is similar to Eldora. They have long sweeping corners, and it's kind of circular in shape. At Volusia, whenever the track is fast, you'll want to be right down against the concrete wall in the corners with a nice big arc down the straightaway. Whenever the track starts to slicken up, you'll be able to follow the groove up higher and higher. Whenever you get into turns 3 and 4 though, the groove might get up onto the shelf, which is the flatter section of the racetrack, and then it becomes very difficult to exit turn 4 without getting into the wall. And that's just one of the characteristics of Volusia Speedway Park. Hope you guys have fun.
The NASCAR Peak Anniversary Series powered by iRacing is
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to RaceSpot TV and iRacing Live, where, well, we've had ourselves a very interesting day here today. We were hoping to catch a couple of drivers to talk to, but no one's here, unfortunately,
No, exactly not. I mean, well, we were really looking to have the race leader come in, and apparently he's having a couple of technical issues of trying to get into the commentary booth, but it was a relatively good race out there, Will.
It was a good race, and in particular, I was really looking forward to seeing Marco Iacono on the stream here.
It's Asidio Kono.
Asidio Wako?
Asidio Kono.
Asidio Konu?
Sidia
Sidia
Kono.
Kono.
Asidio Kono.
Asidio Kono.
Yeah,
So
exactly. This is very important. Well,
yeah.
This is very, very important. And I think the question was is if I ever get distracted while I'm driving.
Well, precisely. But in particular, do you ever look at Marco Asidio Kono and say, you know what, I wish I was as good as him?
I haven't really memorized the rest of this skit, Will.
It's okay. It's okay. So, let's then talk about the rest of this weekend. We've got two really important events coming up. The first one is the iRacing World Championship Grand Prix Series here, live on RaceSpot TV. And well, Martin Cronkite has been unbeaten all season long, but we head back home again to Indianapolis. And well, Indianapolis is always that wild card round. And is someone going to beat Martin Cronkite?
I think we ask this question every week, Will, and it doesn't look like to be the case. He just keeps winning by these huge margins, and especially in qualifying, a couple of tenths of a second ahead of the rest of the field. And this isn't a rookie rest of the field we're talking about. These are the best drivers in sim racing, and it seems like no one can top Martin Kroenke. And you can talk about Indianapolis being a wildcard all you like, but I think Kroenke is just going to completely just sweep the season. That's my honest opinion.
Of course, there's a lot of hype right now around McLaren MP430 because of the fact of world's fastest gamer that McLaren are doing right now. And first of all, can I just say that Fernando Alonso at the Hungarian Grand Prix in the deck chair, my favourite F1 moment of the year.
Oh yeah, exactly, and I like to see the drivers embracing those kind of jokes, shall we say, and that McLaren taking the fastest lap of the race as well, which would be completely unheard of, but it was absolutely fantastic to see for Alonso. And a couple of drivers that are racing in the World Championship Grand Prix Series are also focusing on that McLaren's fastest gamer thing as well. So maybe that can play a part in the race coming up, because some drivers have split their focuses, shall we say, and maybe that'll throw in a spanner. Yeah,
of course. You can see the first edition of the qualifications for World's Fastest Gamer on. So yeah, good luck to any drivers that are competing in World's Fastest Gamer. But you see the World's Fastest Sim races on iRacing, in the iRacing World Championship Grand Prix Series. And that is tomorrow, again, at Indianapolis, preceded by RaceBot Race Day. It is the RaceBot Renault Sim Cup and the RaceBot TV Super Cup. And I'll tell you one thing, Connery, I mean, we now have 3 top-level races every single Saturday.
Yeah, it's absolutely fantastic to see. And if you haven't really watched the RaceBot Race Day stuff before the World Championship Series, then you are really missing out on some fantastic racing there. And it could be as good, if not even better, than the World Championship Grand Prix Series at times.
Indeed so. And also on Sunday, and this is what I'm really excited for, and I'm gutted that I'm not on the commentary for this, we've got ourselves what is going to be amazing. It's going to be the 6 hours of the Glen here on RaceBot TV and on iRacing Live. I have called a number of 6-hour races out of there. It just, that commentary, scheduling, servicing system just didn't work out this time for me. But I love the 6 hours of then. And actually, with all the endurance races we do each year, they've now got a very high margin to beat, because, of course, we're only a week and a half or so removed from that amazing GT race that we had at Spa, and I don't think any endurance race can top that, except for maybe a race at Watkins there.
Yeah, exactly. We have an absolutely fantastic, basically 2 weekends of racing here, and I was sad to say I won't be able to commentate the first couple hours of the 6 hours of the weekend either, because I have a little bit of a clash with the Grand Prix Series. Maybe I can make an appearance later on, but yeah, that's going to be a fantastic race indeed. And well, we'll see what happens in terms of Blancpain GT teams also competing in that event as well, because they want these iRacing special events just as much as they want the Blancpain GT Series title as well.
In the Elite Series is going to head itself to Milwaukee Mile. Of course, Milwaukee Mile, Connery, most historic track outside of Indianapolis in IndyCar racing, mainly because of the fact it's the oldest oval racing circuit in the world. People talk about, of course, Indianapolis Motor Speedway, but they forget there was a couple of ovals before them. Brooklyn's, of course, no longer exists, but we've still got the Milwaukee Mile.
Yeah, exactly. Milwaukee is an absolutely fantastic track. Of course, one of the shorter tracks on the IndyCar calendar. And I remember when I raced in the Indy Fixed Series, I'm not afraid to admit, the Fixed Oval Series, that was one of the trickiest tracks on the calendar as well to drive. So that'll be an absolutely fantastic race as well. It separates the men from the boys in terms of drivers.
And we round things out, of course, with Monday Night Skippy in support of the Calm Zone, a male mental health charity designed to reduce the amount of male suicides within the United Kingdom. And well, Monday Night Skippy has got interesting the last couple of weeks. I mean, I did the broadcast on Cuba Can Do It a couple of weeks ago, and I was like, wait a minute, it's been a bit of a lull period, but it's back. It's back and running, and there's some drivers we haven't seen in a while just having their hands on.
Yeah, I think Monday Night Skippies has been as good as it ever has been, I think, because we've had the return of Mark Mercer, which we saw in the race you were involved in, Will, Interlagos, just absolutely tearing up the field there. Didn't get the race win, of course, but he provided us some absolutely fantastic entertainment. And Monday Night Skippies is always a series that brings that sort of action. Side-by-side racing pretty much every corner throughout the field with sometimes 50-plus cars on the grid. It's an absolutely amazing spectacle.
So yeah, that's all we've got time for then tonight here on our broadcast of Friday Night Prime Time, the iRacing.com IMSA Online Sports Car Championship. Thank you so much for being a part of our coverage. We will see you all tomorrow for the iRacing World Championship Grand Prix Series and Racebot Race Day. From Conor Maddock, I'm Will Vincent. We'll talk to you all next time. Goodbye.